Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Bertie Leroux Live, where we speak about vision with imagination. That's our overarching topic. And today we have a very interesting session. And I think Bertie has a question for you as the listener today. But we're going to introduce that concept first. And we're talking about the man in the mirror. Bertie, let's explain the concept to them first. How are you, Bertie? By the way,
I am very well, thank you.
Good,
Very well,
you.
thank you. And going all great guns, and quite excited to be here once again to talk to listeners out there.
Awesome. And for those that don't know, that's something we do here on radio, TV. There's usually quite some time that we engage and spend time, about an hour before every live broadcast. And I spent quite a bit of time with Bertie today, and it's always really, really amazing hearing about all the things that you're busy with, Bertie, and the things that's moving and shaking in your life. And I'm excited to be part of it, and just being a part of telling that story and showing it to the world. And prepping for the show today, we were talking about this concept of the man in the mirror, and then you flipped it around and you said, well, this is the picture that we spoke about. You shared it on radio before. Can you introduce this concept to us, like the mirror and the window? I think that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting. Thanks for the opportunity. As some of you may know, I'm on a radio station called Platinum Gold on Tuesday mornings between 10 and about 20 to 11 South African time, live streamed radio. And, often I get challenged with a subject on the spur of the moment. And a question was asked, and it's sort of a controversial one, where it said, if you are locked up in a little dark room and they come and they offer you two options, they will give you a window or give you a mirror. Obviously, a lighted room now all of a sudden, but you'll have an option to have a mirror in your room or a window. Which would you choose? And I would like you to, where you're sitting watching, just put it through your mind and say, which one would you choose? To my mind, one would be, a no-brainer. But the other one, to my mind, has got much more potential in terms of self-worth and self-growth. And yes, that is the subject for today. It's to talk about the little voice in the mirror that we so often neglect because we have not learned the true lessons of who we really are.
So, Bertie, obviously this topic is about, for me, I summarized it as an exercise of self-reflection. And so let's start with this question. If you were given that option, you've spoken about this quite a bit with me, what would you choose between those two, and why?
I actually chose the mirror every time, and it was, to me, that was the no-brainer, to choose the mirror. But the most of the people that I ever tested on this since always chose the window. They've got no idea what is on the other side of the window, but they chose the window. So I can elaborate on that a little bit. And okay, take you through the thinking process.
Yes.
And I don't want to jump the gun, but at the end of the day, if we just take the window. So obviously, when we look at a window, we'll get a concept of 3-dimension. So you'll get space outside of the window. Let's assume that this window is not just a window leading into a passage where there's a blank wall on the other side, 2-3 meters in front of the window. Let's assume it allows you to look over the countryside, okay? And you've got depth, you've got the sky, you've got the sun all of a sudden lighting up the world and your room. And you see trees, you see people, you can see animals and birds and so forth. So you get a different perspective. Whilst in the mirror, all you get is yourself. And that is where my challenge come from. And that's where, when I talk about a vision with imagination, that is really where it starts. And that's the most important. We are so, involved in space away from ourselves and with other people and with other places and other concepts and ideas, that us ourselves is always second best, plays second fiddle. And unfortunately, that's what it is. And when we are then challenged, we use external factors to answer the challenges. So we use other people's experiences, book knowledge, or University of Life knowledge that we then apply to our own lives, because we don't really know what we need and what we want. So the confrontation to me is quite simple. I love the confrontation. I get involved, and I've the last two Tuesdays we spoke about stress. Today we spoke about good stress and versus bad stress, where we actually need these kind of things. But one of the points of departure is to know yourself. What makes you tick? Why are you subjected to the kind of stress that you are? How are your body and your mind responding to that stress? And the only way really to address that stress is if you know your why. Why are you responding like that? What experience are you using in that response? And the only way to get the answers to that is to get to understand and know who you are. Yes, in presentations, often I too has used that. There's a very popular an example where there's a little cat sitting in front of a window of a mirror, and from the mirror it reflects the lion.
Wow.
Which states, the way you think is what you're going to get, and what you're going to achieve, and what you're going to be. So even though you're a little cat, if your heart's big enough, you will act and live like a lion would. And that's the approach that you should be taking. But that is in your mind's eye, you're going to see, and you are going to change your mindset so that you don't believe you're the little cat, the little ginger cat. We always joke about the little dog that's always, chasing up the big dogs, getting them going, because they too believe in their mind they're as big as the Great Dane. In the meantime, they're just a little fox terrier. But that's the way to go about life. But they seem to know themselves better than the bulk of us out there. So we put to the challenge, mirror, window, we take the window. As I say, we've got no idea whether the window opens up or not. Will it bring in fresh air or not? We've got no idea. We just need some space. We just need some depth. Okay? So like I say, let's assume it goes over the veld. My personal belief and my view is that in good time, the view through the mirror will become a still life. It's almost like you've done a painting of a pot with flowers, and it's there on your mantle. You just see it there, it becomes a still life. And the same happens with that view. I often challenge people that buy these properties with a beautiful view, up on a hill, up on the mountain, and they overlook the ocean and all these kind of things. And then you challenge them and ask you, when last did you sit here and just appreciate this view that you paid so much for? And they will tell you, not often. I'm too busy. So I've paid a price, and it becomes a still life. It's like a picture. I can actually take a picture and then just paint it and put it on the wall, and then go and live down in the valley. Same thing would happen to to that view. I don't appreciate for what it is because I'm just too busy. And the same thing happens with real life. And in this situation, I look through a mirror, eventually becomes a still life, because I'm seeing the same picture, the same tree, the same grass. Maybe if I sit there long enough, it will change into summer and winter, and I'll see the different seasons changing. But that's all. I'm learning and I'm growing nothing from that view. Whilst in the mirror, I have got ample opportunity to get to know that person in that mirror who will never be a still life. And that is where the strength comes from using the mirror and start loving the mirror. And I'm challenged every single day with different things, it's a situation in life about people that is struggling with their own lives, people that is on the antidepressants and a lot, things go wrong. And when we discuss this whole concept of stress and how it impacts on your life, and how important, different things in your life is, we need to look at serotonins and the endorphins that is so important to our lives, to energize us, to get us going. But no, we dwell in the negatives. And the negatives is the things that other people mostly bring to us. We internalize it, becomes part of us. So it's almost like the garbage truck using your home, your site to drop all their garbage. And we allow it because we don't know ourselves. And that is where when you sit in that little room, you can go nowhere. And you look in this mirror. The first thing that normally with stuff, you start looking at yourself for the first time ever. You'll see everything that is in place or out of place. Things that are how your face has developed over time. A couple of more gray hairs, and a couple more, lines on your face. So that's what we're experiencing. And I use the term unconditional love. Because the first requirement for really and truly being able to love others is to unconditionally love yourself. This picture that you see here, this person, nobody else. There's nobody else in this picture, only me. So if I talk about unconditional love, I love this person. Unconditionally, the way I've been made, I was created. Okay? And as I spend time and I talk to this individual in the mirror that becomes the true Bertie Leroux, and I start getting to love him in all aspects of that. And I start sharing my life stories. I'm telling it because the way I am today is the combination of all my stories. So I've got so many stories that I can tell you. I mean, that person in the mirror, I can tell so many stories. Learning opportunity that I have, University of Life as I know, experiences I want to share. So the mirror, the still life, is going to give me nothing. I'm just going to look out there. There is still no person with me. There's nothing happening. Yeah, I'm sitting in the mirror. 24/7. I've got a partner in that little room that is sharing with me all their passions, all their purposes, and therefore their prosperities as I guide it.
We can probably look at this metaphorically as well. Would you say the window is maybe a method or mechanism for us to escape? That's why we choose that, because we have a way out if we get claustrophobic or we don't like where we are. And the mirror is difficult, and people don't choose it because then you have to face yourself, and they're afraid of what they'll discover when they look at that.
Absolutely. I mean, it is, like I say, the mirror gives you the feeling of a 3-dimension. It gives you the space. If I just can get through that, I'm gone. I'm out there. But yeah, I'm confronted with a mirror. And if I don't like what I see in the mirror and I want to escape, I can't go anywhere. So I'm actually forced into this relationship with this mirror. And that's why I'm saying this learning opportunity, because we have never done that. Like the biggest challenge that I share with people when coach and mentoring people is that we don't experience ourselves in true life, because we experience everything that we see, and we want to be like that, and we set targets for ourselves and goals and desires and needs in terms of what we see other people is like. I always say, if I were to look at people and saying I take a specific thing from each individual that I meet during the day, which I think is extraordinary, and I want to internalize that. I want to be a part of my life. Can you just can you understand? Can you imagine what I'll be like if I take all those experts pieces from them and put it in my own life? It's impossible. It shouldn't be like that, because you cannot be God. You cannot be that perfect, and that's the problem we have. We see the perfection in other people all the time, little perfections. We don't see the imperfections, because that's not important. We are focusing on that person or that experience, the perfections. And we wish we are like that. So we're so extremely unfair on ourselves. Because the other people that look at me see perfections in me too. And they may be looking at the same desires and saying, if only I could be like, or I can look like, or have that. Blue eyes, gray hair, mustache, whatever the case may be. And we're putting that unfairness on us. And that's why we end up with all the stress, because we're looking at life through eyes, judging ourselves and saying, we are not perfect. All those people that we are meeting up every day, whether it's online, virtual, or in real life, those are the perfections. And then you bring them home and you're saying, you're an imperfect fool. How come you were born this badly? Now, the lekker thing about this, and the lekker is a lekker word for nice thing about this, you are locked up in a little room and you only have the mirror. You may be confronted with those thoughts, and now all of a sudden you've only got one person to look at, and the only place to go and find perfections. And you'll be so surprised how perfect you really are.
Wow.
Okay?
Go ahead.
Now, I just want to say, that's when the little ginger cat looks in the mirror and sees the lion. And you too should look in this mirror and see this incredible, phenomenal person, the superhero that you really are, because you put your mind to it. You can be the lion. What's stopping you? It's all in your mind.
We were talking about profiling last week, Patty, and so there's a couple of questions I want to ask about this. When I look at myself in the mirror, I'm going to do self-reflection. I'm going to be met with perfections, imperfections, the real me. And we're talking about profiling. Do you suggest that a person does their own profile, like go and apply for and get their own profiling? Is it important to do that you know where you are? And then do you think it's possible to change once you have the profile? Is that something that you can change, or is that just that's set in stone, that's who you are?
We must understand that if I talk about profiling, and I use the terms when I talk profiling, I'm saying, why do I do what I do the way I do it? So that is an exercise. I've done 2 batteries of questions, and it gives me my profile, my whole brain thinking profile, left brain, right brain. What am I? But if I'm if I'm sitting in front of the mirror, I don't have the benefit of a profile. It's not testing me what I love doing or not. I'm looking at this physical being, and understand what I'm capable of, what I have done, because I'm thinking about all the things that I've done in my life. Not just in terms of muscle power, but about willpower and intelligence. If I look at the profiling will tell me what I love doing. What is my thinking preference? And in this case, to all of you out there, I'm talking about the Neethling brain instrument, whole brain thinking profiling. Okay, if you want to know more about that, Google Dr. Kobus Neethling and study and learn a little bit more about NBI, Neethling brain instruments. So I'm talking about that. There's a lot of other models that you can use, giving you very much similar results. But the profile tell you what you should be focusing on, because what you love doing. Because the moment you identify what you love doing more of that actually energizes you. And you will also find out what you are not comfortable doing. In my case, I'm a dominant right brain person. I enjoy spending my time strategizing and innovating. So new things. I've always got quite a few balls up in the air like a juggler. But it come to finishing the task, the paperwork, keeping to structures, and all those kind of things. No changes, that's not for me. But in my business, I can employ somebody into the areas that I'm not comfortable with. I employ an administrator that is brilliant at that work, and I did, and it's doing great guns. So you know what you don't enjoy. But then if it's up to me and I have to do everything myself, I will probably teach myself some skills, some added skills, some shortcuts to get to do the things that I least like. Let's call it least like. That's to do it, because you can't just do everything you love. We are talking about whole brain thinking, meaning there's a left brain, there's a right brain. There's a front and there's a back. So this brain is whole. And I must use this whole brain in my thinking process, even though sometimes it gets to a point where I at least like thinking that way. But you have to be confronted, and that's what the answers you get from profiling. What you need to do, and therefore understand, if I want to be not necessarily more successful, but happier, more fulfilled. Fact is, do more what you love doing, that leave you with more energy and creativity, etc.
I think one of the final things that I probably want to ask you is, if I look in the mirror and I see something and I don't like what I see, what can I do to move myself towards the image or what I want to see, and changing that image that I get?
I like that one. Remember that saying, if it's to be, it's up to me. If I look at this face and I dislike this nose, there must be a reason why I dislike this nose, because I'm comparing myself to somebody else. I'm comparing myself to somebody else. So if I can take this nose off and plonk it here and plonk in another one, the one that I desire, because it's much better shaped, my glasses don't sit off center and all those kind of things. Because that's sometimes what happens. If only I can get rid of this damn nose, and as you say, cut off your nose and spite your face. So yes, we can look at our face. We can look at this person and say, I don't like this person. But then I'm saying to you, hey, you've got this person. You can do nothing about this person. So the question now is, how can I change this person? How can I change the person to fit into my perception of what's better? So I can look at this person and say, hey, you need to shape up. Go to the gym, spend some more time there, firm up. I can do that. I can make a decision. And if I look at my face and say, I don't really enjoy this gray hair, I can color it if I want to. Or I can go and cut them all off. I say, I don't have to worry about these gray hairs. I can make the decisions which is within my power. But I cannot go and change. I can get a facelift and now I feel 10 years younger. And 5 years down the road, I look 20 years older. I can make decisions. Sure. But I must understand what is the implication of that. And it's you can look at this person and say, listen, why don't I enjoy this face? What's wrong? What is out of sync? And there's a lot of things you can do. For example, I can decide that, I should wear a different shirt or a different top when I approach people or whatever, because that make me feel different. And you can try these things out. But that's why I say unconditional love. Look at this face and love it unconditionally. You were born this way. Other people look at you and they want to be like you. Think about that. There's people that want to be like you. And then you say, I don't like this person. Are you crazy? If other people desire this person, this face, gee, I must be proud of it. Something I'm doing right. And just love it. And if there's something too big an ear or whatever, man, you've accepted it for 66 years. It brought
so
you
you're saying
here.
that I should be self-aware of the things that I can change. Like for instance, I'm unfit. I maybe have too much fat or whatever, and I can go and gym and change those things. But there are some things about myself that I can't change. And I do you think that in that sense, self-acceptance may be an important thing, that you start accepting, like you say, unconditional love, that you start accepting yourself and loving yourself, and if I do that, that I will be more successful in approaching the world and everything that I'm supposed to do?
Absolutely. Because how will I be able to act like a lion? I must start by believing that I am a lion. When I look at myself in the mirror, I see a lion. So that is where I must start, and believe that, and you can do that. That's your own willpower. But a lot of people sit and they do nothing. They're so negative. They switch they enter a room, they switch the lights off, and that negative. And they say, "If only I can change." Like, some people, you'll challenge them and they say, "Are you happy?" And they say, "Yes, I'm happy." You say, "Just tell your face," because there's no smile. It doesn't cost money to be a bit more positive. And the moment you bring positivity into your life, your whole body will reflect it. We talk about this whole thing. If you trust, you believe, and love what you're doing, your whole manner, everything grows bigger. If you don't like what you're doing and you don't believe that you're good, you sort of try to whimper away. You want to disappear. You go into a party and you almost want to leave the party before you get there. Those are the kind of things you can change. Cost nothing, just a mindset change. Change your paradigms. Change your life.
Yeah.
Be like the lion, because you are the lion, and act it according to everything. So if you are positive and you're happy, just tell your face. Dress accordingly. I mean, don't dress, with all respect to I'm this guy. Don't dress in black and then say yourself, "Yo, I'm so miserable." Everything you've got, my friend, and you're reflecting to others is miserable because it's all black. Get yourself shining. Get some sharper colors, and you just be a different person. It's up to you. You don't have to take your face and put another one on there. Everything that you need and what you want is there. Trust the lion. It's there. Maybe you need to learn to roar like one, but then you teach yourself to roar like one. But act like a lion. And I mean, that's what I will get. And that's why I say, locked up in this little room, and I've just got myself. And it's got nothing to do whether I think I'm great or whatever. I just think that I am good enough. I'm good enough by my definition. And that's all you have to be. Nobody else's definition. You're born unique. If there's anybody else like you, your twin brother or sister, they will be different. But those are the cases where, from a physical point of view, may look exactly the same, Siamese twins. But still, inside, you're going to act and be different. Desire different things. Live your life differently.
So, Bertie, as a final parting thought, what would you like to leave with the viewers as we exit this topic of self-realization, self-evaluation? What is the final thing that you'd like to leave with people?
You spoke about evaluation, and I'll just latch onto that word and saying that's one of the problems that we have, is that we always compare. And then the normal response is that we then judge ourselves not to be good enough. If you believe in yourself and you trust yourself, you'll be the best example of you. If you want to be like somebody else, remember that person already exists. You can only be a second best person like that. So you'll always be catching up with others. Be the best you, because you're unique. Don't try to be like others. Learn from others. And do things maybe different. that make you happy, make you stronger, make you grow and develop. There's nothing wrong in learning. We go through life constantly learning. But trust yourself in being the lion. Go to bed seeing the lion. When you get up in the morning, comb your hair out there, because that's how big the lion's head is. Live your life according to what you believe you are and can be. And don't compare yourself. You are unique.
That's perfect. Very, very awesome. Thank you so much, Patty. And thank you for everyone watching the broadcast, especially those watching the rebroadcast. If you have any questions on this topic, please feel free to go and post it in the comment section below. Patty will pay attention to that and give you feedback. And thank you so much. We appreciate you being part of this journey and learning with us. Patty, thank you so much for your time. Again, just sharing with us and encouraging us in this this journey that we're taking with you in Vision with Imagination. I think it's a phenomenal topic. And I'm excited about, we're going to kind of enter probably a second phase in the next couple of weeks. And I'm very excited to look at those as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ivan. And thanks for those watching. Thanks for your support. Love having you there. And I trust and hope that you've learned something about yourself and that you too can unconditionally love yourself. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you again next week, Tuesday at 4.